Before the video starts, shout out to my second channel and everyone that's gone over and subscribed. And eventually, if things go good enough, I'll start doing giveaways. So links in the description for that, but now to this video. The 10 greatest starting fives from every major NBA category. Surprisingly, a lot of these lineups turned out a lot better than I expected. But don't worry, there's still some weird ones. But first, I want to let you guys know that I'm very excited to be working with DraftKings for this video. And it's actually something I use a lot throughout the NBA season, because it really does make watching NBA games a lot more fun. And if you've heard about it but been putting off trying it out, now's the time to do it because DraftKings is having daily NBA fantasy contests with $1 million in prizes. Now keep in mind, current players can participate too for their free shot at $1 million with your next deposit. And here's how it works. Your goal is to draft 8 players, with each player having their own assigned salary. And you have to make a lineup that stays under the $50,000 salary cap. And there's a little trick to picking players, because you do get fantasy points for any of the main stats of rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, and points that they put up. So for instance, if you're looking for a star player, a guy like Russell Westbrook's always a great option, because he's under $10,000, and even if he has an off night, you know he's always going to fill the stat sheet with a near triple-double, gaining you points from multiple categories. So you build a team with this mindset, then follow along on your phone or computer all night as your players gain fantasy points, and hopefully you can climb the rankings to win that $1 million. So if you're interested, definitely use my personal link in the description and my promo code Austin when signing up to get your free shot at a $1 million top prize with your next deposit. Shout out to them for the sponsor, and now let's get into the video. And the first category we're going to start off with is passing. In terms of passers, you gotta believe that the best passing point guard in the NBA is still Chris Paul. Luka Doncic is technically averaging more assists at point guard this year, but we know CP3 is the better true passer here. Now, shooting guard might be surprising for you because the best passing shooting guard we have in the NBA in terms of true positions is James Harden. He's averaging 7 assists a game and has been for years, while all the other top shooting guards are averaging about 4. Obviously, for small forward, that spot goes to LeBron, surprisingly being the only player in the entire league averaging double-digit assists this year. For small forwards though, he's held the title of the best passer for years. For power forward, the spot goes to Draymond Green, and this one was tough. A guy like Giannis was considered, but since Draymond has been a playmaker and facilitator for Golden State for years, this is his spot. With centers though, the choice was easy. Bam Adebayo does deserve a mention, but no big man in the league is on the same level as Nikola Jokic, team leader and gladly hits his teammates for open looks. So the starting 5 made up from this category of best passers in the NBA comes out to be Chris Paul, James Harden, LeBron James, Draymond Green, and Nikola Jokic. And that's a great 5 to start out with, full of superstars, well, 4/5 of the way full of superstars, and 4/5 of the way full of guys that would unselfishly pass the ball around all game long. But then we go over to the best 3-point shooting lineup that we can make based off of current players. Point guard, obviously Steph Curry. Shooting guard, obviously Klay Thompson, no explanation needed. Then small forward's a little controversial because we would include Kevin Durant here, because straight up in-game shooting from different spots on the court, off the dribble, and off of pick and rolls, he's probably the league's best 3-point shooter at small forward. But I think for this category, we should stick with the guy who's flat out the best shooter, and I'm giving that one to Duncan Robinson. For power forwards, it was interesting, because Kelly Olynyk is leading the league with 43% from deep this season, but he just doesn't have enough attempts per game. I wanted someone that shot a lot from 3 and made a lot, and maybe surprising to some, that guy turned out to be Danilo Gallinari. For centers, there was really no contest. The man only played 35 games due to injuries, but Karl Anthony Towns was averaging 41% from 3 on almost 8 attempts a game this year. And if he hadn't have averaged a similar percentage the past couple of seasons, I wouldn't have given that spot to him based on the games he played, but he's always been a great 3-point shooter, so I gave him this one. So the whole lineup turns out to be Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Duncan Robinson, Danilo Gallinari, and Karl Anthony Towns. Because of Steph and Klay, of course the team would be great. Karl and Danilo would be great role players, and if Towns could ever get his mindset right, he'd be dominant from all the extra looks he would get from playing through Steph and Klay. Then we have rebounding. At point guard, you would think it easily goes to Russell Westbrook, but as I mentioned, Doncic played point guard most of this year, and you compare Russ's 8 rebounds a game to Luka's 9.3, and we gotta give it to him. Shooting guard may be another surprise though, because the spot's for James Harden, who doesn't beat out guys by a huge margin, but does lead all shooting guards in rebounds. So now that's passing and rebounding for him. Then whoopee, no surprise, LeBron James takes a spot for small forwards. Power forward goes to Giannis, who averages more rebounds than most most centers, and the spot for center easily goes to the best rebounder in the NBA with Andre Drummond, giving the rebounders a lineup of Luka Doncic, James Harden, LeBron James, Giannis, and Andre Drummond. And this is going to be a hard lineup to beat because you're combining the best young star in the game today with the best scorer and the top 2 MVP candidates with a great center. But for the next category comes blocks. The point guard position may be a hard one to think of who's best at blocking shots, with Ben Simmons and Lonzo Ball probably coming to mind. But we're going to have to go with Derek White as the best point guard shot blocker. And he's been leading all point guards in blocks this year, and has been an excellent defender, stopping players his size or even bigger from driving to the basket. And at 6'4", that's impressive. Bruh. Okay, I'm not making this up. The shooting guard that takes this spot too is James Harden. If you include points per game, that's 4 out of the major 5 categories that he leads all shooting guards in. For small forwards, we have Andrew Wiggins, and nothing exciting. No small forwards are really known as shot blockers besides LeBron, but he gets them when they matter most. At power forward, it's not surprising at all that Anthony Davis takes this one. He was closely trailed by Kristaps Porzingis though, who will always be a great shot blocker as long as he stays healthy. Then for centers beating out Rudy Gobert, Hassan Whiteside comes in here for leading the league with just over 3 blocks a game, which puts this 5 with Derek White, James Harden, Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Davis, and Hassan Whiteside as their starters, making Harden and AD the stars, but we can already tell this lineup is not going to be the best of the video. Moving down to steals and starting with point guards, it goes to Ben Simmons, one of if not the best defensive point guard in the league, who led the entire league in steals this year. Then there's a surprising name for shooting guards because Fred VanVleet takes this one, and I think what's helped him most is the fact that he's 6'1" and playing at this position, because it's giving him an advantage at getting steals against all the taller guards. But hey, you guessed it, barely right behind him is James Harden, who almost took this one and swept all 4 categories outside of scoring. Kawhi Leonard and his monster pancake hands take it for small forward for obvious reasons. Big surprise at power forward though with Robert Covington. He usually plays small forward, but over recent years has been playing power forward, and he slightly beats out Anthony Davis for this one. Maybe even more of a shocker here for center though is Andre Drummond, coming in with almost 2 steals a game. He's not someone you'd really expect to be great at stripping players and getting the ball away from them, but he's been good at it his entire career, making their team consist of Ben Simmons, Fred VanVleet, Kawhi Leonard, Robert Covington, and Andre Drummond. Okay, honestly, this may be the worst lineup so far, but it's okay, it gets better, because this next category is defense. And first up, we were going to put Patrick Beverley in this spot. I was close to doing it because he's one of the best one-on-one defenders in the league that's shown he can size up LeBron and make some noise while guarding him. But for the fact that Ben Simmons can effectively defend everyone from Russell Westbrook to some centers in the NBA, we had to give this one to him. He's just got the more diverse defensive skill set. We can give the spot for shooting guard though to the smaller Marcus Smart, because he's also shown that shockingly he can also defend a lot of power forwards in the NBA, making him one of the most underrated defenders in the league. The small forward spot goes to Kawhi, no explanation needed. Power forward could really either go to Giannis or Anthony Davis, and the argument for both could go either way, but personally I'm taking Giannis here, and I would choose him for Defensive Player of the Year this season. Then of course the last spot goes to Rudy Gobert. So Ben Simmons, Marcus Smart, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis, and Rudy Gobert. Honestly, this team would be nearly impossible to score on, and for the fact that they also have a ton of offensive power here, it really makes them one of the best lineups of the video. The next category then is vertical leap. We're taking the person with the highest vertical leap from every position and making them into a starting 5. No argument for our point guard because it's Dennis Smith Jr. with his 48-inch vertical. Not a great player, but he can jump high. Great player and jumper at the 2, because as most of us know, Zach LaVine has a 46-inch vertical, and combine that with Derrick Jones Jr., who's an okay player, a great jumper, and an even better dunker. No argument for power forward either with Zion Williamson and his 45-inch vertical leap. And then there's Dwight Howard. Dwight really might not have the best vertical anymore out of centers, but I know in his prime he had a 40-inch vert. I don't know what it is now, but he looked decent in the dunk contest, and I really couldn't think of a present day center with a better one than him. So we got Dennis Smith Jr., Zach LaVine, Derrick Jones Jr., Zion Williamson, and Dwight Howard. The team wouldn't be great and probably wouldn't even be a playoff team. Okay, let's be real, this is the worst lineup of the video so far. But when they're losing games, at least they'll be doing it in style. Now we have mid-range, and this one's kind of interesting. At point guard, we have Chris Paul. D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie Irving do deserve honorable mentions here, but besides them, no other point guard in the league has the diversity and accuracy from mid-range like Paul does to slide off a pick and roll and to split the defense for the open shot. It's a shot he's been known for, and one that very few players in the league can do as effectively as him. Also, no other shooting guards shoot the mid-range shot like CJ McCollum can. I mean, personally, I think he shoots it a little too much. I think he'd be better off if he took that shot less, but because he doesn't, he definitely lands here. Then I wanted to put Kevin Durant for small forwards, but like I said, since he didn't play this season, Chris Middleton takes it for how effective he is from mid-range. Also, Kawhi Leonard was close to taking this one, but not close enough. Kevin Love takes it for power forwards with very little competition to his face-up game and his ability to hit those shots coming off of backing down players in the post. And for the other big man on the court, we have Nikola Jokic, who gets a huge part of his game from this shot. If he's not backing down players in the post, Jokic is usually stationed between 15 and 20 feet, ready to face a player up and hit the open one. So the 5 here is CP3, CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Kevin Love, and Nikola Jokic. Not really a terrific team. I mean, you got some role players and some stars, and everyone can do a little bit of everything. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be the best team of the video though. Then for the category of best dunkers in the NBA. First up, we have Russell Westbrook. There really wasn't any flashy dunk contest dunkers in terms of point guards, besides maybe Dennis Smith Jr., but instead I went another route and picked the best in-game dunker at the position with Russ. Shooting guard was easy, Zach LaVine, no comment. Small forward wasn't as easy though, because I mean, do we go for the reigning dunk contest champion, even though he shouldn't have won, or the man who could probably win any dunk contest he enters? But we're gonna go with Derrick Jones Jr. LeBron may be better in game, but we've never seen him in a contest because he's never entered one. So just because of that, we're giving this one to Derrick. Next up, I mean, hey, maybe in a few years Zion Williamson will prove to be the better dunker, but there's no way that right now I'm putting him over Aaron Gordon, who is arguably the best dunker in the NBA. Then the center's not exciting because there's no great dunking centers in the league right now, so I give it to Gobert, who had the most in-game dunks this season. Some would still say Dwight Howard, but after his dunk contest performance, I'm not giving it to him. So we have Russell Westbrook, Zach LaVine, Derrick Jones Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Rudy Gobert. For speed, it was pretty easy. Russell Westbrook at point guard, in my opinion, slightly over De'Aaron Fox. Donovan Mitchell at shooting guard, I really couldn't find any other fast shooting guards. LeBron James at small forward for the same reason. He's the most athletic small forward, so I'd probably say the fastest. While no other power forwards beating Giannis down the court, while he's getting there in 4 steps with his Space Jam legs. And no other center even comes close to Mo Bamba, who was reportedly faster than Russell Westbrook, giving us Russ, Donovan Mitchell, LeBron, Giannis, and Mo Bamba. Superstar point guard, all-star shooting guard, top 2 MVP candidates, and a tall guy makes a great lineup. Then last up, in terms of the strongest player from every position though, there was really no indication on who the strongest point guard was, but I would assume it would be the tallest in Ben Simmons. It could have also gone to an underdog guy like Eric Bledsoe, but for now we're keeping that at Ben. There's no telling on shooting guards either, but I saw a few people saying James Harden, so I guess we'd give it to him. Small forward, it easily goes to LeBron. Some people were saying Zion for power forward based on his size, but I think right now I'd still take Giannis. Zion's big, but Giannis has been working out for years, and he's old enough now to have that grown man strength, while Zion's still 20. Then, of course, the world's strongest man, Steven Adams, for center, which gives us arguably the top 3 MVP candidates here, an all-star point guard and a brick at center, so this lineup may be the very best, and that was our last lineup. So that means now we can say that the category that gave us the best lineup was rebounding. I mean, come on, Luka Doncic, James Harden, LeBron James, Giannis, and Andre Drummond. That's 4 team leaders that bring their team wins, and arguably 4 out of the 5 MVP candidates in the NBA. Combined with a big man that'll give you 15 rebounds a night to get all their misses, no one's beating that. So drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next video.